And now it's time for another case law update. Today's case is a recent ruling from the Supreme Court of North Dakota called Higgins v. Lund, and is yet another fixed versus floating royalty case. This case involves a title dispute in Williams County, North Dakota. In January 2017, the Higgins plaintiffs sought a judgment to quiet title to mineral interests and to recover oil and gas proceeds. The Lund defendants denied the allegations and asserted counterclaims seeking quiet title to the minerals. The case centered around a 1964 warranty deed and a 1952 royalty deed. For today's update, we are going to focus on the North Dakota Supreme Court's analysis of the 1952 royalty deed. I'll start with the end. The court determined that the 1952 deed unambiguously conveyed a floating royalty interest. This means that the royalty interest would fluctuate based on the terms of any future oil and gas leases, rather than providing a fixed fraction of production. But how did they get there? Well, the court explained it in these terms. When you are talking about a floating royalty, you are talking about a fraction of a royalty. And when the royalty itself changes, the fraction therefore changes. So the fraction is tied to something, like the underlying lease, and usually depends on multiple fractions in order to calculate it. When you are talking about a fixed royalty, you are talking about a royalty that is a fraction of something else, usually proceeds or production. Here, the royalty language in the 1952 deed was 8% of the royalty and was tied to the underlying lease. Therefore, the court determined that it was a floating royalty. So why does this case matter? When designating royalty interests, the addition or omission of just a single word can fundamentally alter how royalties are calculated and distributed. These cases are popping up all the time, and we are finding over and over again that the drafters of some of these old deeds were not as precise as they could have been. So as the fixed versus floating royalty issue evolves, we will keep you up to date, right here on An Ounce of Prevention. I'd like to thank Miguel Otero, a law clerk in our Dallas-Fort Worth office, for his help on this update.